Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. My name's George Robson.
I'm Peter.
So Peter, I want to start with a listener question today.
Please.
Switch things up a little
Yeah,
bit.
thanks.
So this is from one of our listeners on TikTok.
TikTok.
They said, "Hey Peter, loved your video on making mistakes.
Thank you.
What mistakes have you made?"
Thank you. I mean, I've made plenty. I think anybody in business who's been on a path for a while will tell you that they make mistakes all the time. I mean, being successful is about not making the same mistakes twice. We've talked about that. We all make mistakes. You just got to crush your responsibility to not make the same mistake twice. A few major things that I've made mistakes on and have learned over my career and years come to mind. I'll just rattle them off in no particular order. So, mistakes I've made have included my relationship with certain partners early on in my career. I've had businesses and investments with different people, and roles and responsibilities perhaps weren't as clearly defined as they should have been. I was young. I was eager to be in business. I was hungry, and I didn't fully spell out or even think about what roles and responsibilities should be in the investment or business, and it became a little convoluted at times. So I considered that a mistake, and I learned from those, never made those mistakes again, and I have very successful relationships with partners and investors for the past 25, 30 years now as a result of those mistakes that I made back then. Next, I'd say operationally for businesses, especially small and medium-sized businesses, I see a lot of them making the same mistake that I once made, which is that I failed to really understand how and when to deploy centralization versus decentralization in my business. So small and medium businesses really benefit so much from centralization. It's really when you get to a very large organization with a very large corporate structure that decentralization begins to perhaps add some benefit to the management structure and to the leadership structure. But for small and medium-sized businesses, there's a tendency for employees to seek a decentralized feel. And I assure you that 99% of the time, the more centralized management structure with a defined set of core values and a defined set of goals and objectives, right? Because you can't operate anything without those. A more centralized management structure is really the right way to go. And one of my earliest business ventures we had decentralized management structure and offices that were in multiple locations. And it was just a huge pain in the ass, very tough to manage. This office wasn't talking to this office, the communication gaps were there. I mean, it was very tough. So I promote a very strong centralized management structure in small and medium-sized businesses, clearly defined goals, objectives, and core values for sure. I would say that a major mistake that I made early on in my career that I learned from and I will never make again, and I implore all of you guys to never make it, is to never be undercapitalized. If you're starting a new business, if you're getting into business for the first time, for the 10th time, doesn't matter, make sure you have enough capital. Run your business plan, run your projections, run your numbers, and whatever the capital needs are, double it. I assure you, you're going to need it, especially in today's world where it's really hard to peg revenue projections, it's really hard to peg sales projections. I mean, you need your top line, right? You need that cash register to ring before you even get to paying expenses. But until that cash register is ringing regularly with a predictable frequency and amount for years and years and years, you really don't know what you have. So really be well capitalized. The difference between the businesses that survive and don't is how well capitalized they are. The differences between the businesses that live through a pandemic and don't live through a pandemic is how well capitalized they are. And we're seeing now more than ever how these small businesses, these mom and pop shops, these bars and restaurants that are getting crushed, that they have one location. I mean, they don't have enough capital to survive through this. It's horrible, it's heartbreaking Have enough capital, don't be undercapitalized. And then the last thing that comes to my mind is, and I share this a lot with young people all the time, is don't go in until you're ready. I mean, you got to be ready all the time, but get ready. Do the work to be ready. Get the confidence to be ready. We've spoken about how you get confidence. You have that repetition, you get that skill, and you do it over and over and over again until you get good at it. Once you get good at it, you get the confidence, you're almost ready, right? Confidence is one part of it. Have the look, have the eye contact, have the body language, have the swagger. Give off that feeling, right? You're here to sell. You're here to sell your business, yourself, your product, your service. It's not going to happen unless you have that look. So make sure you get the look. You're not going to be ready until you have that whole package. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Have the data, have the numbers, right? You're making presentations. Get it all together. I used to make the mistake when I was younger. I would go in, I wouldn't be ready, and I couldn't close. I couldn't close because I didn't have it all wrapped up. So get it all wrapped up, get it all ready, do the work to prepare yourself, and be ready. Don't pre-shoot. If you pre-shoot, you're just going to sort of look like a fool, and people have access to information. People are more educated. The consumer's smarter. Your prospective customer's smarter. They know what they want. If you go in there and you're not really playing an A game, they're going to sniff it in 10 seconds and you're out the door. So don't go in until you're ready, and make sure you're ready. Do the work to be ready.
Yeah, you hear that a lot with people saying, well, I think I'll just rise to the occasion. I'll be ready, when
the fake it till you make it culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And very often the truth is you tend not to rise to the occasion. You default to your programming or to your training. And if you don't train and you don't get ready, then you're not going to be prepared.
Yeah, fake it till you make it is such a thing of the past. I mean, we're all smarter than that. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't come at me telling me that you're faking it until you make it, because I'd rather see you work hard until you make it. I'd rather see you study and become an expert until you make it. I'd rather see you get the experience until you have the knowledge and gain confidence until you make it. But faking it until you make it is going to last you 4 seconds.
Yeah, well, and I was just listening to a conversation with Kevin Rose, who's a very successful investor, business guy, and he was recommending Boglehead's book on investing, from the founder of Vanguard.
Love it.
And he was saying he read that way before he ever made any investments, because it was something that he needed to prepare his mind and prepare his game to get into.
I didn't read that article, but I promise you and I bet you that he read that and probably 100 other books as well before he ever started with investing.
Yeah. So my follow-up to that listener question on mistakes, are there any opportunities that you felt like could have been mistakes early on in your career where you did things right, where you didn't fall into the normal traps?
I try to do things right all the time. When you're young, you think you're doing the right thing. I mean, no one gets up out of bed and starts their day saying, yeah, let's go out and do the wrong thing. Before I started making real estate investments, I remember diving into Excel spreadsheets very heavily. And we've spoken here before about living in the cell. And I used to live in those cells, man. I used to put up income and operation statements, P&L statements for a building, and I would sit there and I'd toggle between cells back and forth all day long and see what a 1 or 2% difference in income, what the impact was on net operating income and profit. I'd toggle back and forth between property tax assessments going up 3% or 10%, and I'd see what impact that made on NOI. And I would do that for hours and hours and hours. I didn't have anything else going on, right? I was a kid, I didn't have a ton of investments, I didn't have a ton of money, I had time. So I remember diving into spreadsheet culture. I just made that up. Spreadsheet culture. I remember diving into spreadsheets.
We're gonna make that a thing, hashtag spreadsheet culture.
Yeah. and really getting into it and living in the cells, and that numerical dance that I was doing, that drill of toggling cells and numbers back and forth, really helped my brain focus in on the impact of revenue and expenses on EBITDA and net operating income. So I feel like I did that right, and I took my time. I mean, I walked before I ran, so to speak. Being successful was something that I not only wanted to do, but that I had to do, like it was my obligation. I didn't want to be a a suck and a drain on my parents, right, who had been supporting me my whole childhood life. I wanted to be reliable for other people. I wanted to have a family and have them rely on me and have great things for my family. I wanted to have health, and I wanted to have great moments and memories with my family and friends, and all of this, took money. So I felt like I wanted to make money and be successful in business in order to have those experiences. I feel so strongly that being successful is like a debt that you have to repay to society. We're so lucky to be here in the first place. We're so lucky to be in this country where there's so much opportunity, even still, as fucked up as things can be lots of times, right? We don't need to get into all of that, but even with all of that, there's so much opportunity.
But there were advantages that you were able to use.
Yeah. I feel very, very thankful for that. And so I feel it's my obligation to become successful. And I tell people all the time, I think it's all of our obligations to be successful and to repay that debt by being successful and to take that obligation on to be successful. Do you have a family? People rely on you. You have to protect them. You have to make sure that they're safe and warm and with a roof over their heads and all of those basic things, right? And yet you have to be successful at what you do in order to be able to provide those things.
Well, it's kind of a rare perspective to take on success, to be honest, I think, because right now, especially right now, you have a lot of individuals who use success as an excuse to absolve themselves of responsibility, to say, well, I've made it already, I don't need to do any extra work. And what you're saying is, that's when you really need to do the most.
Well, what I also hear is that I hear people saying, I don't want the responsibility, I don't want to go the extra mile. I don't want the extra work, the extra responsibility. I don't want it. And I hear that and I go, well, you don't want it because you'd rather be doing what? Like you'd rather be like on Netflix, you'd rather be on playing Madden, like you'd rather be like jerking off to hentai porn. Like what is the thing that you're shunning responsibility and success and work for? Because it's cool whatever you want to do, just don't complain that you don't make enough money. Don't complain that you don't have the things in your life that you want to make you happy. Don't complain about that. You can go do whatever you want. I don't care. No one really cares. But it becomes a problem for you, and it makes you, a hypocrite and a bit of an idiot if you're going to be doing all these other things, shunning responsibility, rejecting the obligation to be successful, and then also simultaneously complaining that, your life sucks. You haven't made it. Why aren't you getting promoted? Why aren't you getting rewarded? Why aren't you making money? Come on, man. If you're not taking on the responsibility and accepting your obligation to be successful, you can't complain.
Yeah, no, totally.
So go ahead and do your hentai and go ahead and your video games and whatever the hell else. I don't give a shit. Just don't complain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That actually kind of ties into this next question. There's this common stigma between landlords and tenants that we hear about.
I'm a landlord.
Yeah, that it's a historically adversarial relationship, and whether that's
sure.
Whether that's reality or perception. How have you taken responsibility in that role to either avoid that perception or to kind of grease those wheels and build those relationships?
So, in our business, being residential landlords, definitely there's that landlord-tenant relationship. And yeah, George, historically it's really a tense one. And I don't know how you change it globally. For me, I try to be different in everything I do. Yeah. The way we operate our business, definitely we try to be different. We strive for excellence with everything we do. We have a great leasing team. They follow very specific practices and they're cutting edge and they do a great job, and the people themselves, or the individuals, they're just tremendous, exhibit tremendous work ethic. And so we're different in a lot of different ways. For example, I'll just give you a few that come into mind. Communication. Communicating with our residents is a key feature about who we are as a company. We're constantly communicating with them. During the pandemic, for example, I know we talk a lot about pandemic, but this stuff is even relevant for non-pandemic times. So during the pandemic, I'm sending out emails to our portfolio of residents daily, multiple times a week, if not daily, about things that they can do to better themselves during this situation. We sent out lifestyle content. We sent out advice on how to talk about PPP loans with your employer. A lot of people were laid off, and employers and business owners weren't really sure about what PPP was or how to even go about it. We had a lot of information flowing our way, so I was sharing it with our residents so that they could ask their employer about PPP and push their employer to inquire about PPP and maybe apply for PPP. I mean, we want to get people working, right? During this horrible, April, May, and June were just so tough, and that was the point of PPP, was to get people working. So we were constantly messaging and communicating about that kind of stuff. We were promoting residents' businesses and goods and products and services within our resident community. So in March, we were doing payment plans and workouts with those few residents of ours that were in need to have that be done. I mean, even before the state governors and the federal guidelines came out for landlords and tenants, we were doing workouts, we were doing payment plans, we were doing security deposit capture agreements for those that needed it. I mean, fortunately, we didn't have a very large percentage of residents that were in need of some of that financial assistance and flexibility on our end. But we were hopping on that at the beginning of March. I mean, those guidelines didn't really come out till the end of April.
And that goes back to something you said before about anticipating rather than reacting.
Oh man, we saw that coming. I saw that coming. I mean, this pandemic wasn't going away in a week or two. So you had to think, how are you going to collect rent in April? How are you going to collect rent in May, June, right? So you have to be thinking that far ahead. And the only way that I saw it happening was to communicate with our residents and have options available to them. You know, I'm in business. When you're in business, you serve your customer. You don't just sit there and think that they serve you, that they're paying you, and ha ha ha. And I mean, there's no good successful business person that's ever become successful by not serving their customer. I mean, you've got to put your customer first. I mean, we put our residents first. And you know, we did what we could as soon as we could. We unlocked laundry machines and made laundry free during the pandemic. Not because it was an economic benefit as much as it was the safe and right thing to do, because a laundry room is a public room often in your properties, and you've got people coming in and out, touching things. I mean, we wanted to create a level of comfort, so we upped our cleaning and housekeeping services and sanitization services, and we had sign-in sheets for our staff to sign when the laundry room was being sanitized, and we made the machines free. We felt that that was the right thing to do. We got a lot of thanks from our residents for a very simple and easy thing to do like that, but we did it, and we did it early. And I challenge all of my multifamily owner-operator peers to tell me, what did you do early that you did without it being told to do it, or have it being suggested to you by the government to do it? What did you do? We went big and we went early. You know, we do tenant gift bags. When new residents move in, we operate along the coastal areas of New Jersey with many properties. So at that office, we have beach bags that are branded, and we give people t-shirts, and we pack branded cool bottle openers, and we put in keychains and I don't know, like a little swag bag. We have beach towels that we put in there, and people come to us on key day and they get their keys and they get a swag bag filled with a high value and a high item number of things in the bag. I mean, it's a great little way to welcome new residents, your new customers into your world, into your business.
Starts that relationship off on the right foot.
I think so. I don't think anyone else does that, so we try to be different that way. We survey our tenants. I mean, and most business owners won't do this. It's really funny. And for a lot of them, I suggest you don't do it, because you're not going to like what you hear, and it's only going to make you depressed, and it's going to screw you up for weeks and weeks and weeks. But if you're a strong, confident business owner and operator, and if you're executing at the top of your game, and if you're best in class in your market and in your industry, I challenge you, survey your tenants, see what you get. You know, go to SurveyMonkey, come up with some questions. Really think about the questions. Really be open to getting honest answers. And you'll improve your business, you'll improve your operations. It'll be something that you and your team, I think we'll end up feeling proud about after it's done. But you really learn, I mean, you have to be tapped into your market, right? You have to be tapped into your consumer and your customers. I mean, your residents are paying you rent. They're your customer. You got to know what they want. You got to know what they need. You know, maybe they need more bike storage. Maybe they need more laundry capabilities. Maybe they need less extermination services, more extermination services. Maybe they have pets and they don't want people. I mean, whatever it is, you don't know until you ask, right? Now you can change your management plan once you get the information, or not change it, right? You can make decisions to say, look, it's going to cost money, it's not cost effective, it is cost effective, whatever your conclusion is, but you need the data, you need the feedback. So I survey my residents, and always looking forward to it. We do that a couple times a year, and it's good stuff. I mean,
yeah, I hear you emphasizing dialogue a lot in this relationship rather than just sending out notices, just saying.
I emphasize it because no one does it. No one else does it. We do it. It takes some time. It takes some effort. We manage through it, but we get great rewards from doing it. I mean, we improve ourselves. We improve our business. We run a great show here, and the reason we do is because we know what our residents and customers want. We know what our market needs, and we provide it. So, you can sit and guess that, oh, hey, I have a building and I'll put some apartments on the market and see if they rent, and you can think that that's, you being cutting edge. It's not. Go deeper. Go deeper. Really challenge yourself and see what your residents and customers need. Surveys, dialogue, be in the buildings, go door to door. I mean, during the pandemic, we had our staff calling every resident. Every single resident got a phone call. How are you? What's going on? Are you working? Are you not? Tell me about what's happening with you. How's your family? I mean, we had this dialogue, not because we wanted something from them. We only wanted to have the dialogue and see how they were. Do you need anything? I mean, we heard all sorts of things. We were able to then be helpful to so many residents in so many different ways, only because we took the time to ask how they were doing. What do you need? And, when you get those answers, what are you going to do about it? Take the action.
So, Peter, I wanted to ask you about life insurance.
Okay. Are you in the market to get some?
I might be, actually.
Okay.
But one component that I'm curious about is the cash value component. Is this an actual investment opportunity, a valid investment opportunity, or is that just kind of a component of life insurance that's marketed kind of like high yield savings accounts, that's kind of this add-on?
Well, look, I'm a fan of life insurance. I think it's an important option in the investment marketplace. I mean, life insurance is an investment. Yeah. Where it stacks up in the totem pole of investment alternatives is for all you to decide as individuals. For me, you mentioned, is it similar to like a high yield savings account? I mean, it's not. There's nothing high yield about a savings account, even a high yield savings account. So let's just get that on the table right now. Life insurance is an investment. You pay into it, and it builds up value over time, and it's highly tied to the interest rate environment. So when interest rates are low, your life insurance policy will perform differently than when interest rates are higher. It doesn't pay you. You can take cash out. That's the cash value of the whole life policy part of your question that you're asking. You can take cash out, but why would you want to? Because that cash that you're taking out is the whole engine that makes it the investment option that it is. So the other part about life insurance is that the dividend that you get, you really only get when you die. So you have to be okay with that getting into it. As compared to real estate, George, with what we do, you invest in real estate once and then it pays you every month. It pays you. And after you die, it pays your heirs. And after they get older and have kids of their own, it pays them. So in the scope of investment alternatives, I would say that life insurance is not like a high yield savings account, because a high yield savings account, you fund into it, it sits there, you get shit out of it. And we've talked before about how you need to get your money out of savings accounts and out of the banks and into better investments. And it's not income producing real estate where the real estate pays you and you own an asset. With life insurance, you're paying it, you pay the premiums every year. Yeah, life insurance is a great thing. I'm pro-life insurance. I believe in taking care of your family. I believe in taking care of your heirs. And life insurance is one of the things that's available to you to do that as an investor. And yeah, it's an investment. But like all investments, consider how it stacks up to the investment alternative. Always consider your investment alternative. Don't buy life insurance to think you're going to get rich on it. You're not. You're not going to get rich. Your heirs are going to get a bump when you die. Make sure that you have a good mix of investments for you, and make sure you're including income-producing real estate in that mix.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for clearing that up. And,
did I clear it up, George?
I think you did.
Are you going to still buy life insurance?
Absolutely. No,
You should?
Yeah.
Okay. You're young and you're healthy, so when you buy life insurance at a young and healthy age,
Premiums will be better.
premiums are much lower. It gets expensive as shit when you get to be my age.
Yeah. Well, I work out every day, so that's why I'm doing it, just for those low premium payments.
George, tell me about your workouts. Do you do planks?
I do planks. We've discussed this.
How long can you hold a plank for?
So last week I did a 10-minute plank. Actually, just this morning I did a 10-minute plank.
You did a 10-minute fucking plank.
10-minute fucking plank.
All right.
Yeah. We'll post a video of a side-by-side when we plank next week.
That won't be a long video. That'll be me going to my knees in 10 seconds. All right, let's do ZestQuest.
So ZestQuest number one.
I also like the TikTok listener questions.
Yeah, those are good too. This is another tie-in. We were just talking about 10-minute planks. When do you feel most powerful?
When do I feel most powerful? Oh, man. I feel powerful in the morning. I mean, I hop out of bed in the mornings. I power through my days, so I'm definitely feeling energy and power and powerful during my days. Maybe I feel the least powerful at night because I feel like I've accomplished so much during my day, honestly. Yeah. So maybe not at night, but mornings, daytime, I'm crushing usually, so I feel really good about myself and what I'm achieving.
You've spoken before about when you wake up in the morning, you're just gonna get right to it immediately.
I get up and I get out.
Yeah.
You know, I get up and get out, and that's a very powerful feeling. High energy from the moment I wake up till, after dinner. Usually after dinner, I'm starting to wind down a little bit. So I think just from an energy and output level, I'm less powerful at night. Mm-hmm. I like getting my rest too. I think sleep is important to be ready for the next battle the next day. So I think I wind down at night. I think I'm most powerful in the morning during the day, but not at night.
Yeah, fantastic. And the last question, what's any moment that has restored your faith in humanity?
Oh, so many. I'm so optimistic about humanity. I love humanity. I believe people are good. I believe in the goodness that people all have. And I have moments all the time where I'm reminded of that. You stumped me. I mean, really, I feel that. I feel so positive about restored my, you've asked me when I've had my faith in humanity restored. I mean, I never lost my faith in humanity in the first place to now have to be restored. So I think maybe that's why I pause and think a little longer than I would normally to answer your question. I generally just feel so optimistic about humanity, and I really have such high faith in humanity, and I see people doing good all the time. I mean, little things from individual gestures that happen on our streets, in our neighborhoods, right? We see that all the time between people that live within the same communities.
That actually just happened to me last night. Somebody waved at me, and it made my whole night.
Yeah?
Male
or female?
It was a couple.
Yeah.
The older couple.
Okay.
I would say probably 70s, 80s.
They just waved at you.
And they, for no reason, just waved, and it was just very,
It feels great, and they can be small things. They can be waves, smiles, greetings, right? And they can be big things. They can. I mean, I've seen people make great financial gestures. I've seen people stop what they're doing and save lives. And I always love when I see it because the world is a fucked up place and there is so much shit going on that's bad, that's stressful, that are problems. And so, we need to look to the good. Even in a crisis, even in a tragedy, look for the good. There's always people helping. Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers, right? Yeah. So here I am quoting Mr. fucking Rogers, but the guy was right. I mean, he was right. Even in times of crisis or a tragedy, there's always people helping. Look for the people helping. And what he's saying is look for them, connect with them, you help out too. I mean, if you ask people what they miss most about the past several months with this pandemic going on, what do they say? They say being around people, right? We miss having friends over, family over, hugging. People are doing drive-bys with their grandparents, with their parents, and they're seeing each other at a distance, but they want to hug, and they don't or they can't yet. And that's the most painful thing for people. There's other painful things happening as well. By and large, I hear that really the most painful thing for so many people is the inability to touch and feel each other and to be close to each other. And so, we're humanity, man. We're a people. We're the people, and it's about being together. That right there is what makes people good.
Yeah. So take responsibility, look for the good, and maybe plank a few extra minutes than you're used to this week.
George, I want to do a video of you planking for 10 minutes. You're going to do an instructional on how to get there.
Sounds good. We'll do it.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you next week, Peter. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.